The Communist Prime Minister of Australia, who I write about in my book there, brought in 2 million immigrants to Australia in the last 3 years.
Oh.
30% of Australians are not native born. 30% of Australian voters are not native born. So this is all over the Western world. This is a very conscious, deliberate policy by the Chinese, the old Soviet communists, anybody they could, to increase the third world immigration into Western countries, and primarily Islam, that they knew would cause conflict, that they knew would cause social breakdown, demoralization, all of this kind of thing. So this is not accidental. This is 100 years in the planning. Since the Bolshevik Revolution, the communists have been pushing this on every Western country. They get the left into power. The left opens the doors. Look at Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota is run by communists. From the communist Finns who came to Minnesota in 1905, who were kicked out of the Russian Empire, to all the communist politicians they've had there, they made Minnesota a magnet for Muslim migrants. And it was a deliberate program because they knew that the Muslims would be a great ally in destroying the conservative movements and bringing down the country and just creating chaos. So we've got to understand the left has always paved the way for this big upsurge of Islamic migration to the West and third world migration in general, but particularly Islamic.
Albanese is on a suicide mission to destroy the nation of Australia. Starmer is flooding the UK with unwanted, dangerous, burdensome dinghy soldiers. Khan has turned the once great city of London into a knife crime-ridden hellhole full of foreigners that's so bad all the native people are leaving. Do you want to know why? Because they're all members of the Fabian Society. Socialism by stealth, and the most insidious and dishonest form of left-wing ideology ever invented. For the last 140 years, they've pursued one goal: the total transformation of free societies into what they call democratic socialist states. In other words, communism. But not through revolution and bloodshed, but through the gradual, creeping state control by a long march through the institutions, the bureaucracies, the education system, and the destruction of the family. What they say they stand for is greater equality of power, wealth, and opportunity, broader promotion of collective action and public service, accountable, tolerant, and active democracy. Strip away that nice, polite corporate speak. It is pure poison. Forced equality of outcome, not opportunity. It means confiscating the wealth from the productive through punishing taxes, wealth levies, inheritance rates, and endless redistribution. If your family has accumulated wealth over generations through sheer hard work, ingenuity, good decisions, that will be taken away from you. It means subordinating individuals to the collective, where the state, unions, and bureaucrats decide what you earn, how you spend it, where you live, what your children learn, how much energy you're allowed to use, where you can travel, what you can eat, and what entertainment you're allowed to consume. Locking people into government dependency, armies of bureaucrats, people working in jobs in the NDIS or the healthcare sector, and anyone in the private sector who's not beholden on the government for a paycheck. Destroy that because they want you all dependent on them so they can control you, because a man will believe anything if his paycheck depends on it. Sabotage private home ownership. Net zero fantasies, so impoverishing the people and destroying our energy security and destroying industry and rolling blackouts and huge power prices. Free enterprise is the enemy. Oh, I'm sorry, you have a good idea. Want to put in some hard graft to actually make something of yourself or make something of this product that you've turned up? No. Anything that you succeed in, the state will take. Mass migration, multiculturalism, and identity politics to fracture national cohesion while expanding the welfare state. And of course, they don't want people having connections with family, with marriage, with, dare I say, church, with community, with the land. They don't want people having intergenerational connection to the land, because that is when people have loyalty to family and community over the state. Keep saying it, they're very hard to control. An ever expanding regulation and punitive punishment so that the state can control what everybody does. They reject revolution not because they love freedom, but because they know that slow infiltration works much better. Capture the universities, the bureaucracies, the media, the education system, and then change society one conference, one pamphlet, one Instagram post at a time. The real ambition is clear: to turn capitalism into a hollow shell that will serve their socialist goals, make every citizen increasingly dependent on the state, replace individual liberty with collective control. The same outcome as communism, but wearing a suit and quoting John Curtin. This is not progress. This is cultural Marxism with better manners. A deliberate, patient project to hollow out Australia's prosperity, punish aspiration, and deliver equal misery under the banner of equality. Fabianism doesn't want to just govern society, it wants to own it. And we must recognise this for exactly what it is: the slow motion destruction of everything that made countries like Australia and the UK. We must resist this new Fabian world order. Australia first, Australia always.